Bitcoin is an open-source project created in 2009 by Satoshi Nakamoto. Those involved with the project have built a new digital currency also called Bitcoin. It is implemented with reliable P2P technology and robust cryptographic encryption security. You can send and receive Bitcoins to anywhere in the world at any time of day so long as you have an internet connection. There is no centralized banking institution that controls the production of Bitcoins. Due to this decentralized approach, it means that Bitcoin transactions are relatively anonymous like cash. And since transactions are directly between peers, it means that your accounts can't ever be frozen. The lack of any intermediary also means the amount of fees incurred are drastically reduced. None of the transactions require a middleman. There is no central point of authority or control. The government can't stop you from donating Bitcoins to a project like Quickly, because there is no central authority which they can harass and influence. Like any other type of decentralized network, there is no single point of failure. In fact, the Bitcoin network is actually several times harder to hack than any bank system because the strength of the network is established by the number of people participating in the network. It is also important to note that all transactions must be verified by the network or else they will be rejected. You cannot simply hack the software and make invalid transactions. Bitcoin uses very strong cryptographic algorithms to secure the network. Professional programmers believe that the chances of Bitcoin ever being broken are slim to none because Bitcoin uses well-tested cryptography. The entire internet and many banks rely on the same technology, and if Bitcoin is broken, the entire internet will probably be broken too. Bitcoin is also very robust and well-designed because it is an open-source project, meaning anyone can check the source code and fix mistakes. It's not easy to make malicious changes to the source because the source code is heavily monitored and any changes made to the basic rules or protocols of the Bitcoin network must be accepted by the existing network. All your coins are stored as data on your computer in a file referred to as the wallet file. You can move your digital wallet to wherever you like: flash drives, CD, external hard drive, any type of electronic storage. You can even encrypt your wallet file and make multiple copies of it and save them in many different places. You cannot encrypt cold hard cash. One of the arguments used against Bitcoin is its ability to accommodate illegal trade. Yes, Bitcoin can potentially be used by criminals for questionable reasons, but physical cash has been used in the same way for decades, and can be exchanged with no money trail whatsoever. There are records for every Bitcoin transaction. It's just hard to attach an identity to those records. Although all Bitcoin transactions are logged in the blockchain, it's hard to know who owns an address. Especially when it's possible to generate a new Bitcoin address whenever you want. Bitcoin is certainly not some sort of new world order global currency designed to track your every transaction. Don't be misled. Many aspects of Bitcoin directly challenge the status quo. Mining Bitcoins is a process used to generate new Bitcoins. It utilizes a significant amount of energy and time. This potentially gives them some sort of measurable value. However, in actuality their real value has a lot more to do with the supply and demand of Bitcoins. Demand will increase as they become easier to acquire and exchange, and as the level of acceptance increases. When Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin, he left an interesting string of text in the Genesis block. This text read: "The Times, January 3, 2009. Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks." It appears Satoshi was referencing an article published by The Times on January 2009. He was sick of fractional reserve banking and constant inflation, leading to bailouts paid for with our tax dollars.
Mr. Bernanke, if you don't mind, would you tell me whether or not you do your own shopping at the grocery store? Yes, I do. Okay, so you're aware of the prices. But you know, this argument that the prices are going up about 2%, nobody believes it. You know, and the old CPI says prices are going up at 9%, so they believe this. If people have fixed incomes, they're really hurting. The middle class is really hurting because their inflation rate is very much higher than the government tries to tell them, and that's why they lose trust in government. But you know, this whole idea about prices and debasement of currency, if you loan me $100 and in 2 years from now I gave you 90 back, you'd be pretty upset. but we hand back money back that's worth 10 or 15 or 20% less, and nobody seems to be able to do anything about it. It's very upsetting. But it's theft. If I don't give you your full $100 back, if you loan me $100, I'm stealing $10 from you. So somebody's stealing wealth, and this is very upsetting.
Just because Bitcoin is a virtual currency doesn't make it less valuable than physical money which you can hold. The majority of normal money only exists on computers anyway. The paper notes which do exist just provide a way to let you make transactions, but most present-day transactions can be done with plastic cards anyway. Bitcoins could easily be stored on electronic cards too. Bitcoins are designed to act as a limited quantity digital commodity. The number of bitcoins that can ever exist is limited. Once the miners have created all the possible bitcoins, generation of new currency will halt. 21 million coins should exist by the year 2140. That may not seem like a lot, but bitcoins are divisible up to 8 decimal places, thus ensuring sufficient granularity of the money supply. The monetary system in place today is a type of system where an unlimited amount of new money can simply be printed out of thin air whenever the Federal Reserve pleases. In fact, a recent audit revealed that the Federal Reserve has released at least $16 trillion in secret loans to banks and even foreign institutions. It is because of this system that the US dollar is subject to inflation. Some people may argue that a deflationary currency like Bitcoin will be hoarded and not spent, thus resulting in economic stagnation. They argue people will save instead of spend. However, people save money for a reason, and that reason is so that they may spend it later. It should not be within anyone's power to enforce a crappy currency just so people don't want to save it. That idea sounds stupid and wrong, doesn't it? So why then is it in the government's power to enforce an inflationary currency? Does it not seem odd to you that the system is designed so your savings slowly wither away into nothing over time? No one knows how to create more gold out of thin air, thus gold holds value over time. Like gold or silver, Bitcoin is designed to be limited in quantity.
But in January at one of your press conferences, you said that you sort of poked a little bit of fun at people to downplay the 2% inflation rate. But if you say it's 2 and I say it's 9, it's compromised for the sake of argument that it's 5%. That you said that if it doesn't hurt you unless you're one of those people who stick the money in the mattress. But where are you going to put it? Are you going to put it in a CD and not make any money at all? So this doesn't make any sense. It doesn't encourage the savings, and it just discourages people. But I do want to make a point about prices, because prices go up. That to me is not the inflation. It is one of the bad consequences of the inflation, which comes from the increase in the money supply, and that's one of the bad effects. But you took over the Fed in 2006. I have a silver ounce here, and this ounce of silver back in 2006 would buy over 4 gallons of gasoline. Today it'll buy almost 11 gallons of gasoline. That's preservation of value, and that's what the market has always said should be money. Money comes into effect in a natural way, not in an edict, not by fiat, by governments declaring it is money.
Bitcoin is a limited quantity digital commodity, but it's also a deflationary fiat currency that can't be manipulated by bankers, and it will hold its value in much the same way as gold does. We don't need to trust that a central bank will print the right amount, because trust is placed in the rules of the network and the cryptography on which the system operates. Everyone has a chance to mine new bitcoins. No one owns them all, and the quantity is set in stone, free from manipulation by any group or individual who might wish to inflate the money supply by continuously creating more bitcoins whenever they desire. Bitcoin is not the type of currency where your savings will slowly wither away into nothing over time. When you hear on TV sick of the rising prices, the way you should really interpret that is sick of the falling dollar, because that's exactly what is happening. The real value of most commodities doesn't change very much. What actually changes is the price of those commodities relative to the purchasing power of the dollar. When the dollar becomes worth less, you need to pay more of it. Whosoever controls the volume of money in any country is absolute master of all industry and commerce. And when you realize that the entire system is very easily controlled, One way or another, by a few powerful men at the top. You will not have to be told how periods of inflation and depression originate. President James Garfield, 1881. With our current monetary system, you are forced to use only government-issued money, such as the US dollar. You can't go to a shop and pay for your items with gold or silver or anything else. You cannot pay for your taxes with anything else. And you cannot pay a fine or any type of court-ordered payment using anything other than a legal government tender.
On alternative currencies, nobody prevents you from holding silver or gold if you want to. It's perfectly legal to do that. And you're also it's also perfectly fine to hold other currencies, euros or yen or whatever else. So in that respect, you can do that, and I'd be happy to talk to you about
but Mr. Chairman, that's not money. I mean, when you pay taxes to buy a coin, or you have capital gains tax, when it's not, if you have to settle a lawsuit, it's always settled in depreciating Federal Reserve notes. It's never settled in the real contract. So that's nothing near money when it's illegal to use it. But to do it, you'd have to repeal the legal tender laws. You would have to legalize this. You'd have to get rid of the sales taxes. You'd have to get rid of the capital gains taxes. People, even in Mexico, they're talking about this. They're trying to have competing currencies. They've been wiped out too many times with inflation and wipe out the middle class. They're allowing people to start to save in a silver currency. So I hope we move along in that direction, because there shouldn't be any, overwhelming changes all of a sudden, that there could be a transition. People could vote on it. Maybe they'll give up on the Federal Reserve note and vote for real money.
I'd be very happy to talk to you about it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now, upon hearing all this, you may be wondering if Bitcoin is even legal, since it seems to be a direct challenge to our current money masters. Does the government allow people to use it? Is Bitcoin even the legal tender? Well, the truth is, there is no law which covers a type of currency like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is so new and revolutionary that none of our current laws impact it. The total amount of Bitcoins in circulation is now worth roughly $40 million, based on what people are willing to pay for them. Even though people aren't forced to use Bitcoins, people still use them and consider them to be valuable because they are useful and have properties which many other currencies lack. These useful properties and advantages make them desirable. The main properties which make Bitcoin desirable and better than any other type of currency are the following. The amount of Bitcoins in circulation is completely predictable. It is a deflationary currency with a limited quantity of coins. It is completely impossible to create counterfeit Bitcoin. Each coin can be sufficiently divided up, i.e. granularity. Bitcoins cannot be manipulated/inflated by the government. Your accounts cannot be frozen or made inaccessible. All your coins can be stored as data on your computer. Send Bitcoins directly to other people without a middleman. Send money all around the world at any time with low fees. No central financial authority and no single point of failure. Built on trusted and tested cryptographic technology.
Wieso haben die Leute gegen Nazis nichts gesagt und mir geschworen, wenn's mal so weit ist, dass wir überwacht werden wie Big Brother Mist, dass ich dann meinem Enkel sag, ich hab was gemacht und nicht TV gestarrt. Denn es geht hier nicht um irgend so ein Cybergeld, es geht um alle Menschen in der Welt. In der Schule habe ich meinen Lehrer gefragt, wieso haben die Leute gegen Nazis nichts gesagt und mir geschworen, wenn's mal so weit ist, dass wir überwacht werden wie Big Brother Mist, dass ich dann meinem Enkel sag, ich hab was gemacht und nicht TV gestarrt.